Batman versus Superman comes out. Now, let's talk about the panel itself. I was not in the room. I'm the only guy who wasn't in the room because I was back actually working at the house doing like mailbag and stuff. So Mark, let's start with you. What were some of the things, tell us a little bit about the panel for those who couldn't be there. What happened? What stood out to you about the panel? What were some of the highlights?
Aisha Tyler was moderating the panel, and she did a magnificent job bringing everybody on stage, and you got pretty much the full cast out there. You got to see Superman and Batman on stage hanging out, having a couple laughs together. Jeremy Irons came out, and she forgot to introduce Jeremy Irons, and so he kind of just like walked out.
That goes against your opening statement of her doing a really great job.
You can mess up.
You had one job, introduce the cast.
When you're moderating a panel, you can mess up as long as you laugh about it.
Yes.
And you can clearly tell that she's a geek at heart and she likes all this stuff. So seeing them out there and having them talk about the project a little bit, Zack Snyder was the most impressive to me because he seems to have such a handle on this material and he really seems to grasp what he wants to do with this film. And it seemed like the cast was on board with everything he was talking about. And so I liked watching the panel. And then when they showed the actual footage, you could tell the fan response to this thing is huge. It was one of the biggest applauses that I heard in Hall H all weekend. And I was sitting right up close enough to where the speakers actually like will blow your hair back when something big happens on the screen. So it was a really fun panel to be a part of.
Dennis, what stood out to you about the panel?
Well, speaking of Zack Snyder, he actually drove the Batmobile the night before while everyone was waiting for Hall H. What stood out to me was when Ben Affleck came out, there was a good amount of applause for him. So I feel like the tide is turning now for Ben Affleck as Bruce Wayne / Batman, that people are now embracing him, seeing the trailer, seeing that he's coming out, knowing that he's a big fan of Batman and the franchise. And I think it's one of those things, by the time the movie comes out and hopefully he kills it, people are going to forget about all the controversy about casting him.
Wendy?
And I just want to point out real quick, Ben Affleck told a hilarious story about running into Christian Bale at a Halloween costume store after
a Halloween costume store.
After Affleck was cast, he said he went with his kid to go because his kid wanted to be Batman for Halloween, so he went to a costume store in LA, and in the aisle where they had the Batman costumes, he turns around and Christian Bale is right there taking his kid shopping. And so they just had this awkward conversation. And it was just a hysterical story to hear. Yeah, so he was fun. And both him and Cavill really had fun with the fans, and they seemed to be enjoying themselves at Comic-Con.
He also had a great story about how Zack Snyder was telling him how Ben Affleck was perfect for Batman, because he's like, yeah, we need someone that's kind of like old, tired, run down, over the hill, burnt out. And he's like, oh, great, you're me.
Wendy, what did you take away from that panel?
It was my first Hall H ever. So I was already excited. And I told Dennis right before we went out, I was like, you're probably going to see me cry a lot. And I didn't cry. But I was looking forward to not only seeing Henry Cavill and Ben Affleck on stage, I was really looking forward to the new trailer because I knew it was going to be exclusive and I was going to be bragging to everybody, hey, guess what? I saw the trailer, and then they dropped it on the internet like 2 minutes after. I was like, well, okay.
Well, let's talk then about the trailer a little bit. Now, for those of you who see, I put up my reaction video to the trailer that I made 30 seconds after watching it. It is the best trailer we've had in years. I honestly believe that. I think that is the best trailer we've had in years. I lost my freaking mind over this trailer. I want to run down some of the key things that are in that trailer that I thought were really rather interesting, some really cool shots. Number one to me was Ben Affleck in this trailer. First of all, we got to hear a lot of dialogue from him, but to me, what really captures the essence of everything was that shot of Ben Affleck in the street looking up at the building coming down. And guys, watch the trailer again and again and again, and just on that one spot, and just watch every little muscle and every little twitch. He uses his entire face just to act that scene out. And as you look at that face, that is the face of a really pissed off Batman. When he sees both terror and concern and rage and anger all melded into one. That shot of face, it reminds me a lot of that from the first trailer when Jeremy Irons is giving that speech about good men become cruel, and that one shot was an Affleck's face. I was blown away by what they did with that. But we got to see that, and I put a post on my Facebook page that said, do you hear all those crickets? That's the sound of all the Affleck casting Batman haters right about now. and that's pretty much the truth of it. So I thought he looked great. At first I felt a little concerned that they seem to be hiding Gal Gadot. And we didn't see any acting from her. We didn't see any lines. But at the same time, why should we expect that? If we're right in our assumption that she actually plays a very small role, because when a filmmaker says a very important role, that means small. So I have a feeling she actually plays a small role. So really, why should we have expected to see anything in the trailer? So I don't think there's anything to be encouraged by or anything to be discouraged by the Gal Gadot thing at this point. The Robin outfit, huge, huge. Because they did a couple of amazing things with that Robin outfit. Number one, the Joker message spray painted on it. Haha, joke's on you, Batman. I mean, so Joker killed Robin. Joker killed Robin. But one of the things, and I've always been against Robin being in the DC cinematic universe. But I did put out a video a while ago saying, here's how you could do where it could work. Don't have a child Robin. Make it an adult Robin and you're good to go. And that was the suit of an adult. I mean, when you look at that suit with arms like this and whatever, that was a suit of an adult. And the other thing that makes it really good is that Robin is clearly dead. So that's pretty cool too. Some people speculating that the little girl that Bruce was hugging in the street might be the Jenna Malone character. I can understand why your mind would first go there, but remember, the events, we're now only like a year separated from those events. Jenna Malone did not age 27 years. That little girl did not age 27 years between that hug and when whatever role she's going to play in the new movie. Anyway, there's probably a dozen other things. I was blown away by it. The movie might suck, all right? So I love the Transformers trailers, and look how that turned out. So it could suck. All I can say, though, is I'm blown away by the trailers. Dennis, what stood out? First of all, we haven't asked you what your impressions of the trailer are. What stood out to you about it? What did you think?
I loved it. It was definitely my favorite trailer of Comic-Con. And speaking of that scene, like when the building's falling, he's hugging it, and the girl and looking, they have the voiceover of Holly Hunter over it. It's like talking about Superman and saying, we're going to hold you responsible. And then they showing Bruce Wayne, and, they're inferring that he's holding Superman responsible. And that's kind of where the conflict is. Yeah, there's so many things. We saw General Zod's dead body. We don't know how that's going to play into it. Is that going to factor into the kryptonite, which we also saw? A lot of people were talking bad about Jesse Eisenberg and Lex Luthor and his. I didn't mind it. I mean, I didn't like the silly wig, but I didn't mind his actual performance. And then, just like all the scenes. I mean, of course, we have to talk about the ending of the trailer where Superman rips open the Batmobile and they get up and they just look at each other. I thought it was fantastic. I've seen it like 4 or 5 times now, and there's so many little reveals in it, little tiny things that you look at and you're like, oh, this means that, and I thought there was so much information packed in such a short amount of time.
Mark?
Watching that, and when he rips off the top of the Batmobile and they stand and look at each other, I got the feels, and I knew that this movie is not going to suck. This is going to be great, because the movie's called what? Batman v Superman, right? Who are the stars of this trailer? Batman and Superman. The Ben Affleck scene, not only all the cool facial twitches he's doing when he's running towards that smoke and everybody else is running there, you can feel the superhero in him being reborn and coming out, running into the face of danger. I was not as thrilled seeing Wonder Woman and seeing Lex Luthor in that trailer, because it just felt like, look, guys, we have more than enough material with Batman and Superman in here alone. So it looks like Lex is going to play some role in maybe obtaining kryptonite to help battle Superman. I don't know. And then I don't know, that Wonder Woman shot of her in action and blowing some stuff up looked cool, but I just don't know how you're going to wedge that into this movie in a way that's not going to take away from the Batman v Superman that I'm so excited about. So I didn't hate seeing them in the trailer, but they just didn't seem to fit in there. It felt a little bit like putting the square peg in a round hole to me. Overall, though, I thought that trailer was fantastic. It gave us fans what we wanted to see.
Wendy, you were sitting in Hall H and you got to see it. Your reaction to it?
The trailer is epic. It's everything I expected and a little more. I actually liked seeing Wonder Woman because I was very curious to see what she was going to look like. I thought she looked great in the costume, but it didn't really depict how she's going to portray the character, and I'm still a little worried about that because Wonder Woman is very iconic and important to a lot of people. So I guess we just have to wait and see. I'm really excited to see Gotham and Metropolis coming together in the film.
Right.
Yeah.
That was another important information that came out from Zack Snyder at the panel, is that he said that they're twin cities. It's almost like a San Francisco and Oakland situation where Metropolis is the really nice built up city, and then across the bay is Gotham, which is more run down. So maybe you work in Metropolis and then you go back to your home in Gotham.
Well, it makes more sense, because how is that fight between Zod and Superman affect protecting Gotham
Right.
if they're so far away. They have to be close together. And one thing I do have a little concern with is I like the way they set up Lex Luthor in the sense of it seems like he wants to pit Superman versus Batman. Like he's trying to be like the puppet master behind the scenes. The one thing I don't want to see is because there's a shot of him and Superman's kind of like almost bowing to Lex Luthor. I don't want this kryptonite to like somehow be some sort of mind control thing over Superman. And that,
See, I don't think it is.
I hope not, but I was just concerned because of the him bowing to him.
See, here's the thing. The impression I got from the trailer, and we're making such big theories based on 3 minutes of footage, but what the impression I got from the trailer is I don't think Lex Luthor is trying to pit him against Batman at all. I think to Lex Luthor, Batman's an afterthought. What I got from that scene where he's bowing and then he looks up to Lex and he does not look happy.
No.
He is somehow being, I don't think it's mind control. I think there's almost an ethical binding on him. Could this be that the Senate passed some kind of thing and said, okay, Lex Luthor, you're going to answer to Lex Luthor. If you really want us to trust you and you say you're an American, blah, blah, then you're going to answer to Lex Luthor. We're going to put Lex Luthor in charge. I think those Superman soldiers, I think they're Lex's people. That scene that we see Superman come down thing and the Lex or the Superman soldiers kneel. When they show the shot of then Superman's face, he looks disgusted by the whole thing. He doesn't like it at all. So I think there's some kind of setup here, which would be consistent with the Dark Knight Returns, in which Superman's like, I'm honor and duty bound to follow the laws of the United States, and they're telling me to go get Batman. And I got a feeling there's a little bit of that in this. They showed shots of the Batwing flying over the city, and you see the city like massive amounts of fire and destruction. That's probably our doomsday scenario. That's probably our Zod, either the DNA from Zod or the reanimated body of Zod or something like that. Because that one shot of you see Batman hanging on the edge of the building and then swings out of the way before a heat blast hits it, right? I got a feeling that wasn't Superman sending off that heat blast. I think the trailer made it look like it was, but I don't think that's actually what it was. I think this is going to be our doomsday scenario, but who knows? Could be a million miles off on that.
Yeah, a fan tweeted me a theory about maybe they take General Zod's dead body and they reanimate it to become whatever they're going to call Doomsday in the future. So I don't know. That could happen maybe.
And that's probably what Wonder Woman is, whatever it is that threw Wonder Woman back against those brick walls. It's probably not either Batman or Superman. That's probably our doomsday scenario, I would think.